Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasul Kareem. My brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu. Today our talk will be, our session will be on the story of Adam alayhi salam. And Adam alayhi salam is regarded as the first human being as well as the first prophet of Islam. The story of Adam and Eve varies slightly across the Abrahamic religion while maintain some similarities. So the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, we all have the story of Adam, and we all say Adam. So Adam, my brothers and sisters, the creation of Adam in the Quran, the story of Prophet Adam is found in the various verses, in several verses of the Holy Quran. And not only do these verses describe the creation of the first human beings, but also it imparts the purpose of life, among other important values. For example, if we ask ourselves who we are, where we came from, what is our purpose of existence, the answer that we will be given, that is what Adam brought. Who we are. We came from Adam. Allah created Adam. What is our purpose? Worship Allah. Who belongs to? We belongs to Allah. So, according to the Quran, well before the creation of Adam alayhi salam, it had already been decided by Allah that mankind will be placed on the earth. And that is why it is mentioned in chapter 2, verse 30, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة, and mention when your Lord said to the angels, indeed I will make upon the earth a successive authority. And then the angel said, قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء. The angels, they responded by saying, will you place upon the earth the one who will cause corruption therein and shed blood, while we declare your praise and sanctify you and celebrate your praise? So the angel said, وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. While we celebrate your praise and sanctify you and glorify you. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala respond by saying, قَالُوا إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Indeed, Allah said, indeed I know that which you know not. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Allah informed the angel that he will create Adam, the first human being, who would assume the role of Allah's representative, the word vicegerent, or a deputy to prosper the earth. This indicates that long before the event in which Adam and Eve were tested, it was intended that the earth would have been their destination. Before the test of the tree, of the forbidden tree, it was decided by Allah that Adam and Eve will be placed on the earth. But the angels, they were curious. The angels, they didn't ask that question out of disobedience, but out of curiosity. Allah told them about this, so they asked this question out of curiosity. Now the angels were curious about this choice. As a perfect created, these angels are perfect, they are obedient, and they fulfill their role. They are in continuous obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when they asked, they weren't really challenging Allah. They want to gain an understanding. They weren't challenging Allah. Oh Allah, will you put on the earth those who will cause bloodshed? That was a clarification. It was not a confrontation. Because the angels by nature, they are always in the obedience of Allah. Allah's reply indicate that Adam would be given a preference of reasoning, of logic, of understanding, of choice and consequence. That is why when Allah created Adam, there is a hadith in At-Tirmizi, hadith number 2955, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned about the creation of Adam. What was Adam created from? And the hadith mentioned, indeed Allah Most High created Adam from a handful that he took from all of the earth. So the children of Adam come in accordance with the earth that they were created from. So Allah took various parts of the earth and he bring it together to create Adam. Some were red, some color, some dirt, some of the mud was black, some was white. And this is an indication about what Adam was created from. Some part of the Quran says dust, some says mud, water, but it's a combination of those elements. Now, it is described that Adam was created from a handful of soil that the angels were instructed to take from the earth. Allah instructed the angel to bring this soil, and this soil varies in its color and its texture. Some, as I mentioned, some black, some red, some brown, and this also reflects the nature of human being. Some people we are in different color, some people we have different temperament, some human beings are soft, some are kind, some are generous, some are cruel, so some are knowledgeable, some are not. So this reflects the different potentials that human beings has. Also, it is mentioned in chapter 38 verse 71 that Allah created man from clay. It is also mentioned in chapter 3 verse 59, Allah created mankind from dust. This range of description bring to light the history and the fundamental attachment that human has with the earth. That is why it is mentioned in Surah Al-Imran that Allah mentioned He created him from dust. Then He said to him, be, kun fayakun, be, and he was. So when some part of the Quran says dust, some says mud, water, it was all a combination, like Play-Doh. Now, after being fashioned into shape, Adam alayhi salam soul was created by Allah and was placed into him. Now, the Quran does not give a detail how this occurred. Therefore, it is regarded as something not within the scope of humans' comprehension. But we all know that in one part is mentioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blew the ruh into Adam alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, and we have certainly created you, O mankind, and give you human form. Then we said to the angels, bow, prostrate to Adam. So they prostrated except Iblis. He was not of those who prostrated. Now, after creating the first human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the angels to prostrate to Adam. Although prostration is an act of worship that is reserved specifically for Allah and Allah alone. This prostration that Allah told the angels to bow was of a sign of respect. So we want to clear this up. Now, furthermore, this gesture of honoring the first human also served as a test for even Iblis or Shaitan, whom, despite being present at that moment, despite he knew, yet he refused to participate. It is mentioned in chapter 38, verse 71 to 74. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, so when your Lord said to the angels, indeed, I am going to create a human being from clay, so when I have proportioned him and breathed into him my ruh, my created soul, mean my creation, when Allah give him life, then fall down to him in prostration. So the angels prostrated, all of them entirely, except Iblis. He was arrogant and became among the disbelievers. And this is taken from chapter 38, verse 71 to 74. Shaitan was of the creation called the jinn, and was amongst the angels due to his deeds. Now, as a being with free will who was raised in the rank, he deemed himself far greater than Adam. So, as we know, Iblis was a jinn, and jinn are created from fire, angels are created from light, and human beings are created from the clay, from the dust, from the mud. So, Iblis, he was a jinn, but he was very pious, and he was very righteous, and he used to hang out, so to speak, in the layman's term. He used to hang out with the angels because he was well behaved, and despite he had choices between right and wrong, he chooses to do the right thing, to obey Allah. So he was among the angels. But what happened is that Shaitan, he suffered from superiority complex. I am better than him. And this is the problem of humankind. Even we as human beings, some of us, we have this kind of racial tendency or this kind of superiority complex whereby we feel that we are better than other people, which is wrong, which is an idea of Shaitan, which brought the downfall of Shaitan. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it clear in the Holy Quran. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. O mankind, we have created you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, and then he put us into different tribes and nations and color for us to recognize each other, for us to accept each other, and not for us to despise each other. And the best among the mankind is he who is most righteous, he who is most pious. He and only Allah knows. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who is most righteous. That is why it is wrong for a human being to claim superiority over other human being. So Allah created us from a male and a female, which is Adam and Eve, and He put us into give us different colors and put us into different tribes and different language and everything for us to be tested. Allah make it clear. But Shaitan had this superior complex within him, and his disobedience was rooted in pride and a sense of superiority. He could not accept Adam as a creation worthy of respect. However, as Allah had previously mentioned to the angels, there was wisdom in choosing to create Adam, and therefore choosing mankind for the role as the earth's deputy. That was the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the angels listen and they obey. But not so Iblis. Iblis, the arrogance and the pride, that caused his downfall, despite he believed in Allah, despite he worship Allah. And this is for us Muslims to take note of. So despite we have Iman in Allah, if we have this kind of boastful attitude, this superiority complex, we are better than anybody else, well then that can lead to our downfall. Now, back to our story with Adam alayhi salam. It is mentioned in Surah Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 31 to 33. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He taught Adam the names of all of them. كُلَّهَا ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ فَقَالَ أَنْبِئُونِي بِأَسْمَاءِ هَؤُلَاءِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. After Allah taught Adam the names of everything around, then He showed them to the angels and said to the angels, it said to the angel, فَقَالَ أَنْبِئُونِي, inform me of the names of these if you're truthful. And they said, the angel said, قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. The angels, they acknowledge their limitations. They said, exalt are you. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Indeed, it is you who is the knowing, the wise. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned to Adam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَالَ يَا آدَمُ أَنْبِئْهُمْ بِأَسْمَائِهِمْ. Allah said, O Adam, inform them of their names. You see? فَلَمَّا أَنْبَأَهُمْ بِأَسْمَائِهِمْ. And then what happened next? And He informed them of their names. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَالَ أَلَمْ أَقُلْ لَكُمْ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ غَيْبَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَأَعْلَمُ مَا تُبْدُونَ وَمَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْتُمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, did I not tell you that I know the unseen aspect of the heaven and the earth, and I know what you revealed and what you concealed? So that was a rhetorical question, because the angels, they knew, brothers and sisters. So unlike the angels, Adam was created with a free will and had the ability, the potential, the power to what? To learn, to make decision, to understand, to communicate more than the angels. Furthermore, Adam was granted the gift of knowledge that was not given to the angel. And this knowledge include the names, the characteristic features of the things that around Adam, what he could have seen, both animate and inanimate. This knowledge prepared Adam for his coming role on earth. So when Adam was instructed to present his knowledge to the angels, that is a reflection, my brothers and sisters, of the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It reflects the greatness, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created different kinds of creation. It also resembles that of a teacher to a pupil relationship, whereby Adam is like teaching the angels, name everything, which further indicated Adam's superiority. The angels came to know that purity and perfect obedience were not the sole quality for necessary vicegerent on earth. These angels, they were completely in the obedience of Allah. These angels, they don't know anything else because they don't have a choice. But then when the angels saw the potential of Adam, when they saw the knowledge of Adam, when they saw that Adam knew more than what they knew, then they acknowledged their limitation, and they also acknowledged, despite the fact that they are always in the obedience and worship of Allah, it takes more than that to be a human being. And this is the point we want to understand, that as human beings, we are all the children of Adam. Despite we have aql, we have intelligence, we know good from bad, we have choice, we can choose evil, we can choose good. But when all these choices are presented in front of us, and we decide to choose good, we decide to stay away from evil, despite its attraction, despite we know that, despite it attract us so much, despite that we some people feel that it's fun, yet we give up that evil and we turn to Allah. That makes us superior than the angel. That gives us the best of human being. That Allah mentioned that mankind has the potential to become the highest of the high or the lowest of the low. And why? Because we have the knowledge of both. And despite we have temptations, despite we have love for the worldly evil, yet we forego that and we worship Allah. We forego that and we obey Allah. That makes us. And this is what the angel, this is what they acknowledge, the power of human being. So Adam's suitability for the role of the vicegerent was humbly acknowledged by the angels, but it was challenged by Shaitan, who was condemned and banished. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand the story of Adam and Eve.